the co-founder of CMY Cubes, and also the the co-founder, it's been a big 3 days, co-founder of Shecom. Thanks, Gabs.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good job for staying on and still being around, sticking around. We appreciate it. This is a really fascinating one because this is the first one of this whole show that kind of scratches outside of my knowledge base. So, but the good news is that I am actually really interested in it. I'll give you a bit of a background on me so you guys can also know. I have a e-commerce business called CMY Cubes, Educational Toys, revolutionizing the way people of all ages learn through play. And we launched in 2020 and grew on social commerce. And we started off as an impulse purchase, and now we are definitely a brand that people come back to time and time again, which is why this topic does interest me, and I'm actually really interested to learn from you guys today. I then went on to become the co-founder of Shecom, where I teach everyone what I learn and do and the mistakes I make and what not to do in my business. So I'm excited to be here, and I'm going to let these guys introduce themselves, otherwise I'm going to have to read it, and that's going to sound really boring. So I would love it to come from your hearts.
Okay. So hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Mareile. I don't expect anyone to remember that. It's a complicated German name. I'm the co-founder and CEO of humii. We are basically online mystery shoppers. So anything what retailers would know from mystery shopping stores, we do that for the online journey. Way before that, I've been retailer for 20 years, so my passion really sits with e-commerce. I started very early back in Europe at Zalando, and one day I got a call to move to Australia, help building up the Iconic. I said 3 times no, however, my ex-partner cheated on me and I called back, so here I am. I think the reason why I founded humii was that we tried to work out at the Iconic how we grow very fast, and the answer was not just the products, because essentially we sold the same products than many other retailers in the country, but the experience had to stick out. But how do you know who's got the best experience in the country? If you basically, if there's no concrete measurement. So that is how online mystery shopping came about.
Very cool.
Yeah, so I'm Jevon. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Keeyu. Keeyu prevents customer complaints before they happen by proactively identifying the root cause and then automating fixing it through agentic workflows. My background is CEO of PE Nation, Surf Stitch, and I built Hurley, the Nike surfwear brand, ground up. So a bit of co-founding, scaling businesses from 20 to 120 million and making $100 million businesses profitable. The reason why we co-founded Keeyu, my co-founders and I have a strong belief that the term "where is my order" should not exist in the lexicon of customer service. Essentially, we believe the best customer service is if the customer never needs to call you, never needs to talk to you, everything in the back end just works. So we're the opposite side of Mareile. Mareile's scoring brands on how good they are, and we're helping brands be even better than they are.
Wow, that's a great place to start, because funny that just this morning I went to a breakfast and I had to step away because I was getting an influx of emails from retailers, because we ship all of our orders through Shopify, through wholesale apps, and we were getting influx of them coming in saying, why is my tracking cancelled? And I was like pulling my hair out. I was like, let me just have breakfast. Why is this coming to me? And then I ended up, my customer service manager was like, I don't know what to do with this, because it does actually say cancelled. And I was like, far out. So I called my 3PL and I'm like, what the heck is happening? And he was like, oh crap, we had an issue with weights and we voided all the labels and we redid it and they forgot to tell you, and all your customers got the tracking numbers. And that was literally this morning, and I'm still dealing with that because they're angry and they're retailers and they can't be angry. They have to be happy. So where do you see these mistakes happening post-purchase all the time, and how do you think people could be avoiding them so easily I mean, I don't understand how it works. Like, how could it identify that? But where do you see this happening more and more post-purchase for retailers?
Yeah, so the reason why these post-purchase failures happen and the reason why customers reach out is, let me reframe it like this. A help desk cannot prevent a ticket or prevent a complaint the same way a hospital ER cannot prevent a heart attack. It can only triage the symptom, not prevent the cause. And so what we do at Keeyu is we connect all your post-purchase tools from order placement, payment, processing, pick, pack, ship, deliver, and return into one platform. Instead of linking to a ticket, we link to the customer promise. And what that does is enable us to identify the root cause and then launch agents to proactively fix it before the customer reaches out. The customer never knows. And so in your situation, that failure would have been picked up in real time, and agents would then go ahead and actually fix it, fully automated, without your team being involved. It's like magic, like full-on magic.
I'm sold. Because honestly, it was like a cortisol spike of stress this morning that I didn't need, and also like how many hours wasted of like 5 people in my team to deal with this one problem. Like, and I think that's so powerful because we can't be on top of everything. And especially in the post-purchase journey, it takes one fuck up to never have a customer come back, right? So where do you see customers having value in saving these? Retailers have value in saving these customers. Does it make them keep coming back? It just creates a happier experience.
Yeah, exactly. So every time we automate one of these failures, that essentially means that customer is getting what they want on time as promised, which means they're likely not to churn, because 1 in 5 shoppers do churn every year. I don't know if you know this, but in Australia, that cost Australian businesses 13 billion in churned revenue, and it's frequent. And so when that doesn't happen, they just keep coming back to you and they don't go to a competitor. Mareile, how do you see that folding out in your research?
Yeah, hold on. I'm not there yet. Probably I'll take a step back. So first of all, post-purchase is literally the wild, wild west out there. And I mean, obviously, what we do know is that retailers are very often not across that. Like we have a network of about 2,000 online mystery shoppers. We run about 500 to 700 mystery shops a week. Yeah. Again, wild, wild west. It's incredible to see that even like 4% of return requests never get responded, and that's a pretty much constant number from all the mystery shops we are doing. There are lots of really large Australian retailers in there. Not long ago, we uncovered someone who had 8,000 tickets older than 100 days.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say they don't even know about it, because there must have been some kind of place where all these ticket numbers are piling up. Probably also a level of ignorance. But the idea is obviously sending all these mystery shoppers through to have detailed information of what is actually happening in the process. And now I'm coming back to your point. We do measure through our mystery shoppers what are the reasons which make you least likely to return to a retailer. And everything is obviously what we do based on the experience. The post-purchase part has actually significantly dropped over. The experience of post-purchase has significantly dropped over the last 3 years. From last year, it was 10% to this year, 17%.
Wow.
A key, from all reasons mentioned, was a clunky returns process that includes a lot of questions like, can I return the item? Can you exchange the item? What do I have to do next? There's a lot of intransparency, unanswered questions, piling up tickets, and a lot of, obviously, frustration from the customer side. And I think what retailers sometimes forget, it's like we don't deal, in many cases, just with one retailer. We place many orders over time, right? So we can't always remember, when do I have to follow up? Yeah, that's not my job as a customer. Yeah? The ball sits with the retailer, and that's where it very often falls apart. If you look at lots of websites, they usually say, we will get back to you in 24 hours. So the average response time in Australia over the last 90 days sits at 28 hours. So that sounds quite reasonable, but that stretches obviously from, let's say, minutes to over 6 months. Yeah? We once got a response after 6 months, like, oh, no one would remember anymore what they bought 6 months later. I was like, don't bother. Yeah, just leave it. But yeah, it is wild.
But humii looks at real customer behavior, and I know in my world of e-com brands, we talk about using Hotjar and apps to help you look at dashboards and data. But I feel like this idea of mystery shopping is so much more tangible to actually understand where the drop-off points happen with real human behavior. And I use a post-purchase survey right now, and I do ask people to give me feedback, and sometimes people leave essays. But I would be so interested in knowing that for the people that would never firstly check out because they've already been pissed off, but secondly, the people that wouldn't fill out the survey. How do you feel? What would you say to people that are just looking at data and they're just saying like, oh, okay, look, people clicking here. The difference between that and actually using something like a mystery shopper?
Yeah, I think the key point is understanding the why behind something. You can't influence a metric if you don't understand how it comes together, right? It's the same with an NPS score. I mean, that's an indication. But if your boss says to you, I'll give you a 6 out of 10, and naturally you say, why? What do I have to work on, right? So when I say we look at customer behavior, we collect real customer data, but obviously everyone is customer. Yeah, we all shop online. We obviously match them to a retailer's target group. That's the power to explain any kind of KPIs retailer see. Yeah, you see a bounce rate. What we measure is what made you leave from an experience point of view, right? Like obviously if someone says, figured out I don't have enough money, we can't do anything about it. Neither can the retailer, but to a certain extent. But there's obviously lots of things they totally overlook. Yeah, people just get stuck somewhere. I mean, I could write a book about like the rise of AI bots and so on. We do see a lot of retailers removing email contact forms entirely. I'm not saying that's totally wrong, but you also need to understand what are people used to. Yeah, most of people are used to email contact forms. They quite like it because once you click send, the ball sits in a retailer's court. Yeah, you can do that, but then it requires better expectation management. If you have a question, this is our channel you use for these things and so on. So that's where it really goes wrong. But we measure all those things, but then also for our retail partners, they can name any kind of competitor, so we can benchmark that down to a very granular level, because obviously you also want to understand who's outperforming you, who's possibly stealing your market share. So that said, could be anyone, right? Like a bad experience means the shopper goes somewhere else. And let's be honest, we all have options. There's hardly anything in this country which can only be bought on one website or is such a unique product. I mean, people swap brands, people swap retailers. Yeah, and we always remember experiences. That it's not just particularly in e-commerce, but whether we go to a restaurant, the food can be great, but if the waiter is arrogant, we probably don't come back,
Yeah, and I would also say it goes also through the journey of not just understanding how to save a customer, but also how to increase your conversion rate. Because we talk a lot about conversion rate at She-Com, and something that I love is little hacks on increasing it percent by, like, even micro percents. And there are things that fly around that are really hearsay, like, hey, if you remove your add to cart checkout button on the product page, you'll have a higher order value because people will go and add more things to the cart. But it's based on hearsay. Is that something you're able to actually look at, like the customer behavior of how they're interacting?
Also, the feedback we are surfacing is human experiences, right? It's human feedback, and lots of logical next steps come out of it. It's like you would get 20 times in a row, I'm missing this answer in the FAQs. Naturally, no, okay, well, I add this answer to the FAQs. But we're not a CRO agency, right? We'd rather work with them together. But they use our feedback in order to make their work
informed
better,
choices,
right?
Exactly. And that's why I love that, because making informed choices can help you really grow. For both of you, I'm interested, you both work with some really big brands. What do you guys see that some brands are doing really well and some brands that you've brought on were not doing really well, but they were able to improve?
Yeah, I think the first thing is the brands that we see doing an awesome job is when customer service reports to the CEO and not into operations. I think that's an absolutely critical move in any business. And not only that, when customer service and operations for e-commerce are connected into one department and it isn't siloed. The reason for that is all the things that happen upstream, which is all the post-purchase sort of order journey through the warehouse, payments, etc., become a ticket, and they become the customer service department's problem. And if customer service don't have visibility into that because they siloed to operations, they only find out when the customer reaches out. So we see when brands are really crushing it is when they've combined those two departments together. Not only that, that person is reporting to the CEO and they meet with the CEO daily. Reason being is the CEO then knows what's going wrong in the back end and is able to affect and drive change. And that was also one of the key things I learned through my career.
I was going to ask.
Yeah, I learned that through my career at SurfStitch when I walked in. And I didn't know a lot about e-commerce at the time, but one of the things I learned was the former CEO and founder had customer service reporting to him. And when I moved to PE Nation, that was the first thing I did, and then combined the two departments. And we saw a dramatic change in the customer experience as a result. So my advice is, if you're leading an e-commerce business, combine those two departments and meet with your CX person every day, because you know what the operational failures are, and then you can then apply resources to fix that.
And did you do that as a CEO?
100%. So every morning, my co-founder, Tracy, from PE Nation, we would meet 7 a.m. every morning. We got to work early, and we'd meet, and I'd say, what happened yesterday? She'd say the following things, and then that day I'd go and meet with the team that leads that specific function that caused the failure and say, how are we going to fix this? How's it going to be better? And so we see brands, like when we do discovery, I say to brands, hey, you should do this. And the brands that do adopt that generally see an even better outcome.
Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, I really love that story. That speaks to my very first point, being open to feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the most important, no matter where the feedback comes from. I do see a lot of retail businesses where we can provide exact data, and they still don't believe it.
Yeah.
I do push that usually out on LinkedIn. No more mercy, I don't care. But that's the mindset comes first. Yeah, being really willing to understand what is going on, and then from probably more from a technical point of view, we always say there are 3 things which are key to your success. The functionality, yeah, are things working as they're meant to work in your e-commerce process, yeah, and that's obviously things we stress test a lot. Like we do get a lot of funny responses from AI bots. It's like I asked BWS the other day if they have alcohol removed wine, and it said cheers you too. They fixed it though. I think I took that to LinkedIn, But functionality, and what we do find is like when we work with retailers, if you are in an organization, you don't click all your buttons and so on. Like you don't click refer a friend and so on. That's not kind of, that's someone else clicks it. But we do find people, like you click your own buttons, choose a different path you usually choose on the website and so on. That's a functionality part. Yeah. The clarity part, yeah? Be clear on what the product is about, what you're selling, what your returns process is. Make it that clear. Don't leave any questions for the customer. No one should get stuck somewhere. I'm like, oh, I'm not sure what I can do here. That gets really messy with lots of marketplace partners. They have lots of different returns policies and so on, which is highly confusing. I actually, I couldn't believe it myself. I saw a loyalty program yesterday which had a different tiering system by category, like different point tiering system for beauty, then for first. I'm like, it's doing my head in. Like, I don't see anyone who can calculate that. However, so there are lots of things which are very often not clear, and retailers you get blind in your own company. And then the third one, and that is super important, is expectation management. You don't have to be always the fastest. There's obviously lots of retailers out there with different capacities, but you got to be clear on what the customer can expect. Yeah, if you can't respond in 24 hours, that's probably not a big deal. But then you have to say, we will get back to you in 48 hours. If someone knows that up front, they're not getting angry. If you have far longer dispatch times during peak track and so on, put a banner on your website. Be clear, hey, in this period of time, we need 5 days longer, what's on. Like, that also goes back to the guessing point. Just, that's what these people really nail, right? Like, and starting with understanding what's actually not going wrong, taking that also, not leaving that with any CX manager, but that needs to be surfaced up to the CEO, what you can improve.
Yeah, and my panel that I had just before this one was about speaking to your customer as if they wanted to be spoken to, not like just imagining all the things that they would want, but actually hearing them and speaking to them directly. And I think that is exactly to that point of hearing them, listening to them, and over-informing them. Like you can give them the expectations and then over-deliver. Like if you under-deliver, you're just going to create a really crap experience and they won't come back. For the post-purchase flow, where do you see brands still treating the process as a customer support ticket?
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of brands that are really happy with being reactive and waiting for the customer to reach out and say, I've got a problem, help me fix it. And the issue with that is that brands that are operating like that are using a help desk, and they're measuring their teams on how fast they respond to a ticket, how quick did they resolve that ticket, and what is the customer satisfaction. The problem with that is you're measuring a problem someone didn't want. And when someone buys online and they click on the buy button, none of us are opting in to be calling a brand and saying, fix the problem you created for me and you're now making me work for you. And so what we're seeing is brands that have this mindset that reactive is not the future. Reactive is causing churn. Reactive is causing unhappy shopper experiences. The brands that are saying, I don't want that anymore, I want to be proactive, and I want to be able to prevent these post-purchase issues in real time. And that could be anything from a system sync failure, an out of stock, a lost in transit, a delayed in customs, all those horrible, messy things that customer service teams have to deal with all day. The brands that are saying, I want to prevent that in real time so that the customer doesn't have a bad experience, are the brands that are going to have a better future, simply because customers aren't going to churn. But not only that, they're reducing the operational cost of triaging tickets reactively versus proactively preventing them from ever happening.
Do you feel that some brands are resistant to taking them away from a ticketing system?
I think brands have got brands are getting burnt with reactive AI. Reactive AI is chatbots.
Okay.
And chatbots cannot solve the root cause simply because they've got zero visibility into the operations. And what's different, what we've built, is we connect every tool that touches an order into one platform. And because of that, we can actually solve the problem so that it doesn't become a frustrated customer. And I think when we reach out and say, hey, we're applying AI, they go, I've got a help desk chatbot. And we're like, well, no, that's frustrating your customer because they triage, and then kick up to a human agent. Yeah. And so this notion around like, hey, we're building proactive AI versus reactive AI is something that's taking time to educate brands on it.
You know, I so relate because now I just type the word in human. And if it's a good system they're using, it'll be like, okay, I'm connecting you to a human. Like I can't even be bothered anymore because it's so much fluff and I don't get the answer that I'm looking for and it's just circles.
It's an absolute, because for 20 years help desks have been built around a ticket. A ticket is a complaint. A complaint is because something went wrong in the post-purchase order journey. Yeah. That doesn't need to happen anymore. Like you can prevent that from happening because you're just focusing on real-time operational failures and fixing them before the customer knows, or reaching out proactively. If you reach out to a customer because you've got an out of stock and you say, hey, I've identified that this stock's out item, you didn't have to call me, and by the way, here's a replacement, or yeah, it's coming in 2 weeks, or I'm shipping it from another location, and because you're frustrated, because I'm a day behind, here's a gift voucher. Yeah. And the customer just replies and says, I want this, and then off goes the system and it fixes that in the back end. No agent has to manually do that work, and that's the game changer for retailers.
Wow, and that sounds like it would be really easy for systems that are very black and white. Like we had a bad batch of one of our products come, and instead of we didn't know after we'd sent out about 6,000 of them, and now we've got a really black and white SOP that if they message saying they got one bad one, we send them two new good ones because we just want to squash all one-star reviews. But that's really systemated. Like we could just pop that in, really.
Yeah, essentially what we've done is we're able, our retailers are able to vibe code their workflow precisely to how they want it to be. And that would provide those very specific options that you're referring to. And so it's fully customizable from brand to brand. And whatever your human is doing today to triage it after the fact, the agentic workflows can do that. And I think the key critical thing is they have to be deterministic. In fact, what that means is it follows a path of yes-no decisions. If it's agentic in that it's just trying to solve a problem without any guardrails, it's going to hallucinate and fail, and you can't have that with financial transactions and inventory management.
Wow. And for returns, because, I mean, there are so many apps trying to solve returns, but like after, easy returns or quick returns. And Iconic was great at that, right? But how can we stop it from happening before the purchase even happens?
The return?
Like, yeah, just helping someone avoid getting it and being angry and just sending it back.
Yeah, I'd say the majority send things back because they either don't fit or they only had budget for one item but bought two and were not decided, right?
Okay.
So I don't think, I've worked so many years in e-commerce and there's no way to prevent returns, right? It's just not possible. It does happen. You just can make processes much better. And probably back to Jevon's solution, Keeyu. Like we obviously see that from our point of view. Like we mystery shop retailers before and after Keeyu. It's a blessing for us, right? And for my very personal sake, because we have a Slack channel where all the non-responses and so on popping up, and then every now and then I'm like, oh, bloody hell, right? Like this is just, and then obviously my unreturnable orders are piling up, which at some stage could run my business into the ground. I'm kidding here, but from an experience point of view, as simple as it is, there's absolutely no reason why you should not have a system in place which is proactive. Makes life for your customer service much easier. It's just not scalable, having more and more people responding and building up tickets. That's how we did it for many years. But AI helps us to be proactive. So why would you not do that? You just have to evolve with the time. Yeah? If someone sits there in 5 years and still has a ticket system, then you probably missed the boat. That's just not the future. And as I said, it can be so much easier, right? And also, like, probably there are more online orders going around than we placed 20 years ago. We don't have visibility anymore. No one remembers that, yeah? So no one even remembers to which loyalty programs they're signed up, and retailers doing a bloody bad job in reminding someone, right? So there's so many things we can make much smoother and with a much better experience, and technically also at a lower cost. Happy customer. A happy customer is a returning customer. Someone who had any kind of struggle with the customer service would probably go elsewhere the next time.
But do you think, because I see some brands doing this really well, probably brands that you should be speaking to, because I know that they do it manually, but brands that have done it really well will say you can order one pair of shoes, and if you want to return it, instead of returning it, we'll give you options. And so they try to save the sale. They'll say, we'll send you 3 more in 3 different styles or sizes, and then you send us back the ones that you don't like. And these things can be automated. Do you think that this is part of the journey of automation and taking humans away from that, like having a system in place to do that?
Well, I'd say if you ask me this, then I would say it's a habit thing. Ideally, you don't make the customer pay at all at checkout and make them pay once they've taken a decision. Like if you need a solution to that, front row, here's your man. But that's how we shop in a store. We try on before we pay. Yeah?
Wow, I never even considered that. It sounds crazy, but it actually makes a lot of sense. But when somebody is thinking about doing a return, is there a way that you could save the customer, like through automation?
well, let's say the item needs to go physically back to someone's warehouse, right? So there's obviously always a part that someone has
Yeah.
to, but through automate, probably,
I meant more like, whether either offering them different options or basically trying to keep their money, whether it's a different solution, a different size, or giving them, but still keeping them happy.
Yeah. I've got something I want to share.
Yeah.
Yep.
Please.
The issue with e-commerce right now is no one's paying enough attention to post-purchase, and for decades everything's gone into pre and in-purchase, all the innovation. And what's happened is it's just been left behind, and so that post-purchase experience is underserved, underinvested, and is causing the most amount of frustrations for shoppers right now. And we call it the age of anxiety that has to come to term. And that age of anxiety is when you click the buy button, you've got a 1 in 5 chance of having a bad shopping experience. And the issue with that space is you're acquiring, brands are spending so much money today to acquire a customer, and it's not cheap anymore. It was like $5 before 5 years ago with Meta. It's now like, say, $50. And if that customer churns because you haven't got your post-purchase order journey right, you've lost that lifetime value. And so I think more investment needs to go, more investment and more consideration and more interest should go into that post-purchase experience.
Yeah, I agree. But I would say a return doesn't need to be bad. That's just
Yeah.
anticipation in life, right? That's just how I am. I know I won't keep everything. The best thing you can do is you send your
them a good
husband to the
experience.
post office, so you got rid of that job. But at least, you make it a smooth process with
Yeah.
full visibility and expectation management.
I'd love to know, because you deal with humans, real humans, through mystery shopping and getting real feedback, and you deal with automation and AI. How do you balance between the two, making a customer feel like they're not just being ignored and dealing with AI? Because through the M dashes and really positive replies, like it can piss people off. How do you balance that? Not pissing them off through that.
Yeah, so we're not customer facing. Our solution is internal for customer service teams to empower them to be able to do the best possible job. So we're not a chatbot on the front. Yes, there is. And so the AI we're using is about fixing operational pain points that are not sexy and they're not front facing. Yes, we do send out an email. Yes, it goes through the help desk, but it's a really black and white sort of question process around solving a problem. So the customer's interaction is positive. They just got to reply with yes, no, maybe, whatever it is, and then our AI executes. So we're not front facing. And I think that's sort of helpful. We're using the AI to be proactive in preventing operational issues versus it being reactive after the failures happen.
Yes. Okay. So, and sometimes you'll pick up when a human is warranted, and then they might step in there, but not until it's the right moment.
Correct. So if that automation cannot solve the problem, it kicks up to a customer service person, and then they take. And ours doesn't have to be fully automated. It can be user in the loop, where certain specific decisions have to be made, or the brand can set it up to be fully automated, auto-triggered, manual trigger, a human user in the loop along the way.
Do you guys inform each other? I feel like there's so much you can...
Oh my God, I have a constant channel to him.
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
I'm
I do.
just thinking, like, your mystery shoppers could really be giving feedback in real time that could inform so much of the
100%.
automation, right?
Jevon gets a call from me every day. But in a nutshell, I'm informing everyone. We publish our data on the Inside Retail website. It's called Online CX Index. You can click on customer service. You can see who's at the top, at the bottom. You can see who's the overall best experience. So, anyone can see that. Our data is collected through independent online mystery shoppers, so I don't have any issues to share that.
How do you become a mystery shopper? I'm actually curious.
You just click on a button on our website
That's cool.
and say become a shopper.
A fun little game to do on the side. Okay, some rapid fire questions before we wrap up. Biggest post-purchase mistake?
Oh, sorry, that was me.
Either one of you.
Uh,
I can move on if you don't know.
not communicate with your customer when something's gone wrong and waiting for them to reach out with you. And there's a bunch of graveyard brands that have had a really, really awful experience because they didn't talk with their customer, didn't engage, didn't let them know when something's got wrong, and they just stuck there. I actually had a chat with a customer once when he said, oh, it's great that you're telling me what's gone wrong. Yeah, I never used to know about it. Now I do. Now you're creating work for me. And I was really happy not knowing about these problems. That's a really shitty experience for customers. And you just don't want to do that. When you've failed, step up and say so if you don't have a proactive tool, because that builds trust with your customer. There are brands that have stuck their head in the sand and ended up on Current Affair.
Oh, wow.
So you don't want to be that brand.
Oh.
Wow. So under-communicating basically is the mistake.
Yeah.
All right.
And I would say, I mean, I totally agree with your point. I would say, though, not having a returns portal, at least if you're a certain size. Now, I do understand it's probably a bit harder for smaller businesses, and that customers have also a bit different expectations. As I can tell you across the board, this is always comes up. If there's no returns portal, it is simply takes too much work for people, and it very often ends up with, well, they're done, I don't buy that at all.
And Shopify, even for smaller business, Shopify have their own. You can turn it on in the back end, and you can log in. They can request their own refund.
But you wouldn't be surprised. There are like massive enterprise retailers out there who don't have a returns portal, but then who also don't respond to RAs. So that's when
that's a whole separate issue.
Yeah.
Tracking pages or support tickets?
Tracking what?
Tracking pages or support tickets?
Neither.
Neither. Okay.
Yeah, because a tracking page just tells you what's going wrong, not actually fixing it. So you'd rather want to be fixing it.
Sending them emails? Like,
well, no, fixing the root cause of why that tracking page is telling you something's wrong. Unless there's a...
Okay. Got it. Most overlooked return issues?
Most overlooked returns authorization process, I'd say, with enterprise retailers in this country. And they always tell me, well, but we only have less than 3%. And I was like, give me an absolute number. What's your absolute number? I said, about 2,000 a week. Now, there you go. You have pissed off 100,000 people this year.
Okay, and what's one thing a brand should do before peak season?
Really go through the expectation management. Peak season, things will change, things will slow down. Really, you got to make your customers aware that probably what they usually get from you might not happen over the peak trade period. Yeah? Be very open. And you said that earlier. You got to basically stand up for any of your mistakes, but be as transparent as you can prior to that.
Not enough. A lot of money goes in acquiring customers during peak trade. Not enough goes into preparing your 3PL for that spike in volume. And so I think the key thing retailers should do is say, what is my order volume going to be for peak trade? How long does it take to pick and pack and ship that? How many people should I have in the warehouse? And that was one of the critical things I did at PE Nation and ServStitch, is ensure our warehouse had sufficient people to process that many orders, so we didn't have to change our SLA and have the banner on the website saying, due to peak trade, it's going to be a week longer. It was like, no, just work out how many people you need in the warehouse and hire up so you can process those orders within SLA.
It's so common year after year, big brands ending up on the news because they're not shipping orders, and it's just such a shame to see because they could have nailed it. And they really could have nailed it. Yeah,
and I mean, it's a simple thing. I think e-commerce managers focus on customer acquisition, yes, retention, but they're not focused as much on the customer experience post-purchase.
Yeah. Awesome. That was great. Thanks, guys. Very insightful.
Thanks so much, Gabi.
Do you have anything more to say?
No, just if you see me running out, I have to be in the airport literally in 20 minutes, which is already a challenge. I don't want to be impolite. You can all find me on LinkedIn. I'll do response messages if you have any more questions. I'm running now. Thank you.
No worry. Humii with 2 eyes. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.